What I am about to share with you may be difficult to hear. I want to warn you that this video is not for everyone. If you are constantly seeking validation, or if you believe that sharing everything you discover makes you stronger, then this video may not be for you. But if you sense that there is something deeper on your path, something that needs to be protected and cultivated in silence, then I invite you to stay until the end. You may be surprised, but you will have to remain absolutely silent about what you're about to learn. I know that right now, you may feel an overwhelming urge to reveal your discoveries to the world, to share that spark of knowledge that lights you up. This is completely normal. We all yearn to be acknowledged, understood, and supported in our most intimate experiences. But hear me, trying to prove what we know or sharing our successes too soon often has the opposite effect. It creates doubt and skepticism in others, and worse, it can dull the depth of our own perceptions. Silence is not a weakness. Silence is a strength. And in this video, I'll explain why. For those who don't know me, I'm Yann. For years, I've been helping people discover their true inner power. Without the need for external validation, I've seen lives completely transformed. You don't have to believe me, but I guarantee that what you're about to hear could change your trajectory forever. Carl Jung, the great pioneer of psychoanalysis and depth psychology, said it best: "He who looks outward dreams. He who looks inward awakens." What does this phrase mean in the context of silence? When we look outward, when we seek approval from others, or when we overshare, we are living in an illusion, a dream shaped by the gaze and approval of others. On the other hand, when we remain silent, when we delve within ourselves, we awaken to a deeper truth that lies within us. This is where we find our true strength. Silence is, in fact, a powerful tool for transformation. It is like a seed that requires fertile soil and a quiet space to germinate. By sharing our ideas too early, we expose that seed to cold and outside influences, which can hinder its growth. But by nurturing it in silence, we allow it to develop strong roots, to grow undisturbed until it is ready to blossom. This is not an act of renunciation or an escape from the world. It is an act of protection. You are protecting yourself and your awakening process. Not everyone will understand what you are going through. In fact, they do not need to. Let us think of silence, not as an absence of words, but as a much deeper dimension. For those on a spiritual path, and especially chosen souls, silence is not an option, it is a necessity. Jung himself believed deeply in the importance of introspection and connection with the unconscious. In silence, we distance ourselves from the external tumult and access a source of inner wisdom, often stifled by the hubbub of daily life. The power of silence lies in this connection with our inner voice, and I assure you that this voice does not manifest itself when we are constantly exposed to the judgments and opinions of others. Jung spoke of the self, this totality of our being, infinitely vaster than the ego, which we can only discover in moments of introspection, when our minds calm down and we open ourselves to our true essence. By learning to welcome silence, to calm the incessant agitation of our thoughts, we access an inner wisdom that transcends words. This inner path guides you to your true purpose. It reveals the spiritual journey you must take, and the more you explore it, the clearer that path becomes. But here's the most powerful thing. In those moments of silence, revelations happen. Think about it. Humanity's greatest breakthroughs and most transformative ideas have not been born in tumult and distraction, but in quiet and deep reflection. Buddha achieved enlightenment, not in turmoil, but in the peace of meditation under the Bodhi tree. Jesus, before beginning his mission, withdrew into the wilderness in silence. And Jung himself undertook profound inner journeys through his practice of active imagination, a form of inner dialogue that could only occur in silence. Each of these masters understood a central truth. Silence is the gateway to deeper understanding and authentic spiritual growth. Self-discovery occurs not in the midst of external turbulence, but in inner serenity. If you truly wish to progress on your path, if you aspire to connect with your deepest purpose, you must give yourself moments of silence. It is in this space that the greatest transformations occur. Most people dread silence. They fear what they might discover in it. We live in a society that glorifies distraction, a constant stream of stimulation, and we have forgotten the value of stillness. Yet it is in this emptiness, this apparent absence, that everything makes sense. It is in this silence that you confront who you truly are, where you can hear the voice calling to you from the depths of your being. Think about it. Whenever you feel the temptation to share a spiritual experience, ask yourself this question: will this strengthen or weaken my growth? Sharing your discoveries may seem exciting, but it often dilutes their impact. By expressing them, you give them form through words, and in a way, you limit their scope. Not because words are insufficient, but because the inner experience is something that only you can fully comprehend in all its magnitude. Jung expressed it perfectly when he spoke of the process of individuation. The path to becoming yourself is deeply personal and cannot be guided or understood by anyone but you. Silence, then, not only protects your process, it honors it. It is an act of respect for yourself and for the divine mystery that unfolds within you. Instead of seeking external approval, instead of wanting your experience to be validated by others, trust in the power of silence. Choose silence as your companion on your journey, for it is in the stillness that you will hear the whispers of your soul, that you will understand truths beyond anything you can express. Ultimately, it is not about what others think or understand, but what you discover by diving into the depths of your being. Remember, silence is your most powerful ally. It is the space where your soul blossoms, where your true purpose is revealed, and the deeper your silence, the deeper your awakening. For the chosen ones, silence is especially sacred. It holds a profound truth. Not everyone is ready to understand the dimensions of the spiritual path. There is something unique about the experience of the chosen ones, a resonance at a deeper level of being. This experience must not be trivialized or weakened by constant exposure to external judgments. It is not about erecting a barrier or living in secrecy for the sake of it, but about preserving the integrity of your path. This silence is not a partition, but a protective tool that safeguards what is most sacred in you. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, that part of ourselves that remains buried in our unconscious and that can only be revealed through deep introspection. In the same way, certain dimensions of your awakening must remain in the shadows, not because they are dark or bad, but because they are still forming. Exposing your ideas or experiences too early is like picking a flower before it has fully bloomed. Silence provides the space necessary for what is growing within you to reach its full maturity, sheltered from external influences and the pressures of the world. It's easy to give in to the temptation to share, especially in today's society, where every detail of our lives is exposed on social media and constant interaction is valued. There's a misconception that if you don't talk about what you're doing or feeling a certain way, it doesn't exist. But in the spiritual context, what's most powerful is often the invisible. What goes unseen, what goes unsaid, sometimes has a much greater power because it remains pure, untouched, free from outside interpretation or judgment. When Jung explored the concept of individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself, he emphasized the importance of each individual following their own path, free from distractions. He understood that true transformation cannot occur under the constant gaze of society, but in the private space of the soul, where time and silence are needed to discover who we really are. It is in this intimate and silent space that the most profound and meaningful breakthroughs occur. Chosen souls must therefore exercise extreme caution in what they reveal, because spiritual experiences are delicate and need to be nurtured until they reach their full strength. When you speak too soon about what you are experiencing spiritually, you introduce a form of distortion. Words, while powerful, are often unable to capture the true essence of a spiritual experience. By sharing them, you open the door to the opinions, judgments, and interpretations of others. What seemed clear and deeply resonant to you then loses its luster, as it is colored by external expectations and concepts. It is crucial to understand that not everyone sees things the way you do. Not everyone is at the same level of spiritual awareness or understanding. So the words you use to describe your experiences are often at risk of being misinterpreted or trivialized by those who view them through their limited perspective. And there is nothing more frustrating than seeing what was a transformative revelation for you become commonplace, or worse, skeptical. Silence, then, is not only a protection from outside influences. It is also a way of honoring what you are experiencing, preserving the sacredness of your personal experiences. It means recognizing their unique value to you, without seeking validation from others. By keeping certain aspects of your spiritual path to yourself, you allow them to grow within you without disruption. You remain true to what you have experienced, allowing that truth to integrate into your being before sharing it with the world. This is where the importance of preserving the purity of your perceptions comes in. Everyone experiences the spiritual world differently. These spiritual insights are intimate and deeply personal, and their power lies in that individuality. By sharing them too early, you risk losing that purity and getting only a reflection of the thoughts or feelings of others instead of what you feel deep within yourself. Jung also stressed the need to integrate internal experiences before you can express them to the outside world. This process is essential. Silence gives you the time you need to integrate what you have experienced, to allow the spiritual lessons to anchor themselves in your consciousness and become an authentic part of your being. Only then, when these experiences are fully rooted within you, can you share them in a way that retains their power and depth. And here is a great truth. Not everything you discover is meant to be shared. Some spiritual experiences are yours alone. They are gifts from the universe, revelations meant to guide you on your personal path. Sharing them could dilute their impact. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to be silent and let wisdom flow freely. Let it blossom within you and transform you deeply, without the need to show it to the world. See silence as an act of respect for your own spiritual process, a way of preserving the integrity of your path, ensuring that your experiences remain pure, authentic, and above all, uniquely yours. As Jung said, discovering yourself is actually the greatest challenge. This challenge requires courage but also silence, so that you can meet yourself without distractions or the noise of the outside world. On your path as a chosen one, remember that silence is not a constraint but a liberation. It is the key that opens the doors to a deeper connection with yourself and with the universe. And the more you respect this space of silence, the more you will be able to transform your life from the inside out. Silence is not a void. This is the space where the magic happens. Another important reason to choose silence is to avoid unnecessary distractions. The moment you start talking openly about your spiritual experiences or projects, it's like opening a door inviting all sorts of energies and opinions. What may start as a simple conversation about your spiritual path can attract unwanted attention, a curiosity that can become insidious. Suddenly, people around you are projecting their ideas, fears, and expectations onto what was once a moment of clarity for you. This can quickly turn into a tangle of doubt. Carl Jung often spoke about how the collective unconscious influences our individual psyche. This means that every time we interact with others, and especially when we share something as profound as our spiritual experiences, we expose ourselves to a vast network of thoughts, beliefs, and biases from the collective mind. What starts out as an intention to share can quickly become a confrontation of opinions, criticisms, and recommendations that often have no value in your personal context. The truth is, not everyone is ready to understand your path. What may seem like a harmless conversation can destabilize your growth if you are not careful. For example, you may feel the need to share a profound revelation you had during meditation or a moment of awakening. But what if the person you are talking to is not on the same level of consciousness or does not share the same understanding? It is very likely that you will receive a reaction that awakens your doubts, that they will give you unsolicited advice, or worse, that they will plant a seed of skepticism in your mind. This is where the danger of doubt lies. When you allow doubt to enter your spiritual space, you weaken the connection with your intuition and inner guidance. Jung said that the greatest enemy of personal transformation is distraction. This principle is absolutely relevant on the spiritual path. Distraction does not always take the obvious form of daily responsibilities or work. Often, distractions are subtle, disguised as well-meaning advice or suggestions that seem helpful, but in reality, take you away from your true purpose. The opinions of others can act as a veil that obscures your vision, causing you to doubt what you know deep down inside. In this case, silence is not simply an absence of words, it is a strategy of concentration. By choosing to remain silent, you keep your energies intact without scattering them in useless conversations. It is an act of self-preservation, a reminder that your path is uniquely yours. Each time you choose not to share it, you strengthen it. You reaffirm yourself in your own power. Silence is a fortress that allows you to remain unshaken in the face of the opinions of others, a protective barrier that preserves your inner truth. If you think about it, there is a reason why the great sages and spiritual masters, from Buddha to Jung, have stressed the importance of contemplation and withdrawal. This withdrawal is not only physical, but also mental and emotional. By speaking less and listening more to your own inner guidance, you create a sacred space where you can nourish your consciousness without interference. Each time you overshare, you dilute this space. Every outside opinion you let in becomes another layer that obscures the clarity of your vision. Outside influences have the potential to disrupt your spiritual growth in ways you can't always anticipate. These disruptions aren't always intentional or malicious, but that doesn't make them any less harmful. In fact, some of the most powerful distractions come from people who genuinely believe they are helping you. This is where the wisdom of silence comes into its own. By choosing silence, you not only protect yourself from the influence of others, but you also give yourself time to fully integrate your experiences before deciding whether it's time to share them, or even whether they should be shared. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of integrating our inner experiences before expressing them outwardly. Not every stage of spiritual growth is immediately ready to be shared with the world. In many cases, sharing prematurely can rob you of the time you need to absorb what you've learned. Like a seed that must germinate in darkness before it sees the light of the sun, your spiritual experiences require time and space to fully blossom within you before they are revealed. Silence offers you this space, this moment of concentration. This silence, of course, is not a rejection of connection, but rather a protection of it. This is a vital strategy for chosen souls to ensure that outside influences do not disrupt their most delicate processes. These influences can come from anywhere: family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone seeks to influence, but few understand the sacred ground you walk on. Silence then becomes the key that locks the door on these unnecessary distractions. It is the mechanism that allows you to remain firmly anchored on your path, free from interruptions that could lead you astray. In this quiet, you connect more deeply to the truth of who you are, to the purpose that guides you. Each time you choose silence, you reaffirm your commitment to your spiritual growth, moving away from the confusion of outside influences and closer to the clarity and peace that can only be found within yourself. By choosing silence, you create a protective barrier around your experiences and ideas, a space where the authenticity of your growth can flourish, unadulterated by outside influences. These influences, more often than we realize, come from the people closest to us: family, friends, colleagues, or even well-meaning strangers. It's easy to forget that even loving and caring advice can affect our spiritual growth, sometimes by slightly diverting us from our path. What may be an expression of affection or wisdom to them can become a distraction, an interference that obscures your clarity. Carl Jung frequently spoke of the phenomenon of projection, the unconscious tendency of people to project their emotions, fears, and desires onto others. This means that when you share your experiences or spiritual plans, you are not only receiving opinions or judgments about what you are experiencing, you are also exposed to the unresolved fears, limiting beliefs and projections of the people around you. Your friends, family, or colleagues may sense something in your process that reminds them of their own inner struggles. What was meant to be an understanding exchange can then turn into a reflection of their insecurities or doubts. The real problem is that these projections can subtly creep into your mind and heart. Perhaps you will receive a comment from a loved one such as, "Are you sure this is the right thing to do?" Or, "Don't you think you are going a little too far?" These remarks, while seemingly harmless, can actually sow seeds of doubt in your mind. The skepticism of others becomes a shadow that obscures your confidence. Every time you allow these external influences to enter your spiritual space, you run the risk of losing sight of your goal and questioning what, until then, seemed clear and true to you. Silence plays a vital role. It protects you from outside interference. It's not about cutting off ties with the people around you or living in isolation, but rather about establishing a conscious barrier that allows you to preserve your most intimate connection, the one you have with yourself and with the spiritual realm. By choosing not to share every detail of your journey, you create a sacred space within yourself, a place that outside influences cannot penetrate. This space becomes a fertile ground where your spiritual growth can flourish undisturbed. Jung firmly believed that the process of individuation, the complete realization of oneself, sometimes requires a certain isolation. This isolation is not always physical, it is often mental and emotional. It is crucial for growth. If you constantly let the voices of others influence your path, you risk becoming what they expect of you, rather than who you truly are. Silence then becomes a powerful tool that allows you to remain true to your essence, without being distracted by the expectations or doubts of others. One of the biggest pitfalls of the spiritual path is falling into the belief that we need validation from others. Confirming that we are on the right path by sharing our experiences can feel comforting, even liberating at first. Yet this feeling is often fleeting. The reactions of others can quickly turn this moment of clarity into a whirlwind of doubt and confusion. What was a pure experience is then diluted in an ocean of opinions that, while sometimes well-intentioned, can distance you from what matters most, your inner connection. By keeping your spiritual experiences and plans to yourself, you are not being selfish or distrustful. You are protecting the authenticity of your personal process. What works for one person may not work for you. We are all at different stages of our spiritual awakening, and what is relevant or transformative for someone else may not have the same impact on your life. By choosing silence, you are giving yourself the chance to explore your own path, without the pressure to meet the expectations or advice of others. Jung understood that individuality is essential in the process of spiritual transformation. Each human being is unique, and their spiritual experiences are deeply personal. What you experience on your path is unique to you, and no one, even with the best intentions, can fully grasp the depth of your perceptions. Silence preserves this uniqueness. By keeping your spiritual development free from outside influences, you allow what you learn to integrate authentically, without the beliefs or fears of others interfering with your process. Silence creates an unbroken connection between you and the spiritual realm, preventing outside opinions from contaminating your sacred space. This pure connection with your inner guidance is essential to keeping your spiritual development authentic and profound. Rather than dispersing your energy in unnecessary conversations and explanations, you choose to focus it on what truly matters, your own awakening. Ultimately, the quest for spiritual awakening is a deeply personal and unique journey for each individual. No one can walk this path for you, and no opinion or advice can replace the wisdom you find in your silence. This silence gives you the space to listen to this inner wisdom, without distraction or interference. It allows you to honor your process and ensure that what you experience remains authentic, uncontaminated by outside perspectives. By choosing silence, you give yourself the greatest gift, the opportunity to hear your truth without filter or judgment, just yourself facing the immensity of possibilities that open up to you. In this stillness, you find the strength and courage to continue on your path, knowing that what really matters is not what others think, but what you discover in the silence of your being. Outside influences are not limited to the people close to you. In today's world, in the information age, media, social media, and endless streams of content constantly capture our attention. It is an endless bombardment of opinions, expectations, and standards that dictate how you should live, think, and be. This constant noise can easily drown out that sacred connection you have with your own being, distracting you from what matters most, your spiritual journey. Carl Jung warned of the power of collective influences. We live in a world where the masses often dictate the pace and content of our lives. In this context, social media becomes one of the most powerful tools to impose a false perception of reality. It makes us believe that if we do not share every success, every thought, every moment of growth, these moments lose their value. Firmly, the true value of your spiritual path is not measured by the likes or comments you receive. You do not need external validation to give meaning to your experience. Your truth, your evolution, is already complete in itself. It is in this context that silence becomes your most powerful ally. In a world that constantly demands attention, silence is an act of rebellion, but above all, an act of power. It is a fortress that allows you to remain faithful to your path, without being carried away by the incessant flow of external opinions and comparisons. By choosing not to share every detail of your journey, you free yourself from the need for validation. You focus your energy on what matters, your personal development, your inner connection, and the spiritual purpose that guides you. Every time you choose silence, you take control of your destiny. You protect what is most sacred within you. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you stopped worrying about how others perceive your spiritual progress. If you stopped comparing yourself to others, or to what the media presents as a spiritual ideal. By embracing silence, you create a space where you can breathe, where your soul can flourish without the constant pressure to meet the expectations of others. Silence is your refuge, a place where you can hear your own voice without interference. In this modern world that encourages overexposure, we are sold the idea that success means being constantly seen and noticed. But for the chosen, the truth is the opposite. You don't need to expose every step of your journey for it to be valuable. In fact, keeping your spiritual accomplishments private is a way of acknowledging the value of your journey. Not everything is meant to be shared. Some experiences are so deeply yours, so connected to the divine, that revealing them too soon could weaken their power. In this sense, silence is not a barrier you build to keep the world at bay, but a protective shield that preserves what is truly yours until the moment you are ready to share it, if that moment ever comes. The key is to resist the temptation to divulge your plans, visions, or progress too early. There is immense power in confidentiality, an energy that grows and strengthens when nurtured in silence. Your spiritual development does not depend on the approval of others, but on how you cultivate this inner garden with peace and privacy. Jung also emphasized the importance of the personal unconscious and how the greatest transformations often occur in what is unseen, in what is unspoken. Your silence is the fertile ground where your spiritual roots can sink deep, where your transformation can occur uninterrupted. You do not need to share every discovery for it to be real. The deepest revelations often take time to integrate before they can be put into words. It is easy to fall into the trap of wanting to share for recognition, but the reality is that the more private you keep your spiritual journey, the more authentic it remains. By avoiding prematurely exposing your spiritual realizations to criticism or misinterpretation, you allow them to fully develop within you. Like a seed growing in the dark, your spiritual experiences need time to take root before they are shown to the world. Silence is that incubation space where the divine can manifest without interruption. And let's not kid ourselves. The modern world is full of distractions. Every time you open a social network or dive into the avalanche of information broadcast by the media, you risk getting lost in the opinions and expectations of others. These distractions can obscure your vision, distancing you from what you know deep within yourself. Preserving your privacy in this context is not only advisable, it is essential. It is the only way to remain anchored in your truth, free from the projections and fears of others. Silence is therefore not just a choice, it is an empowerment strategy, an act of resistance to the noise and distractions of the outside world. By choosing silence, you affirm that your path is your own and that you do not need external validation. You claim your right to live your spiritual journey in peace, without interference or judgment. You recognize your power in a world that constantly pushes you to share, to compare yourself, to be seen and validated. Silence offers you freedom. The freedom to be fully yourself, without filters, without expectations, without pressure. It is the freedom to connect deeply with your inner being and the universe. Silence is your most powerful weapon in a world that never stops talking. One of the main reasons for maintaining confidentiality is to protect your spiritual accomplishments. These are deeply personal and sacred. They must not be exposed to the disruptive energy of the outside world before the right time. By sharing your successes or projects prematurely, you risk attracting attention that is not always positive. This attention may be accompanied by jealousy, critical scrutiny, or even negative energies that can interfere with your progress. By keeping your accomplishments private, you create a protective shield that preserves their integrity and protects them from outside influences. Your journey is too precious to be exposed to unnecessary interference. Resisting the temptation to prove your worth is a vital lesson for chosen souls. In a world that constantly pressures you to demonstrate your worth and display your accomplishments for approval, choosing silence is a true statement of power. Authentic spiritual development does not require applause or external recognition. What is real to you is what you have learned and experienced in the depths of your being, and that is enough. You do not have to prove anything to anyone because your path is your own. It does not depend on the validation of others for meaning or value. Your actions will speak for themselves. The most powerful way to manifest your accomplishments is not to say what you have accomplished. Those who are truly aligned with you will see it, feel it, and most importantly, you are aware of it yourself. Confidentiality also protects the integrity of your plans. When you reveal your intentions too early, you expose yourself to outside influences that can cloud your judgment. Those who do not understand your vision, even with the best intentions, can sow seeds of doubt. Not everyone is equipped to see what you see, and that's okay. Your path is not designed to be understood by everyone. Silence allows you to stay aligned with your inner guidance. It frees you from unsolicited opinions and judgments that don't serve you. It gives you the clarity to make decisions based on what truly resonates with you. It's not a sign of weakness, but of strength and power. Silence is unwavering because it's not dependent on the expectations or fears of others. It keeps you focused, serene, and at peace. As you progress on your spiritual path, it's natural to attract both positive and negative energies. Some will seek to learn from you, while others will try to slow you down or destabilize your growth. But here's the key. Silence is your best protection. When you choose not to talk about your upcoming plans, you conserve your energy. You create an impenetrable shield that protects your progress and ensures that nothing and no one can interfere with your destiny. It is in this space of silence that your true strength lies. It is in stillness that your light shines brightest. Silence projects a serenity that connects you to what is deepest within you, reminding you that you do not need external validation to grow. By keeping your path private, you strengthen your trust in yourself and in the divine process that accompanies you. Now I ask you, are you one of those who knows the transformative power of silence? Let me know in the comments. I will take the time to read each one of them. If my message resonated with you, subscribe and activate the bell. See you in the next video. Thank you for being here. See you soon.